welcome Reina Braganza. She is based in the city of Pune. She is a teacher by training. In fact, I was told she was a gold medalist both for her B.Ed and M.Ed from the Bombay University. She worked as a teacher. But her choice really is human rights law, Islamic studies, comparative religion, especially looking at from the feminist point of view. And that has been her choice. And she is a trainer in all these aspects. Reina will speak to us today on what Mao called half the sky, women who have experienced and experience discrimination simply because they are women. In fact, we have in MSI, we have the Montfort Rainbows. We have one of our team members who is a transgender, and she continuously tells us simply because the pure nature of her birth and her gender, how she is discriminated. In other words, gender discrimination is a reality in our minds, in our societies, in our institutions, and we need to find remedies as Montfortins, as brothers. So, Reina, please take over the mic.
Thanks, Verghese. Thanks to you and your organizing team for the opportunity to present. I've titled mine Transforming Gender Relations to Ensure Gender Equality in God's Kingdom. I went onto your website. From what I found, Jesus Christ is our inspiration, our rule of life, our model, guide, and our goal. Christ, the Gabriel Brothers, education is your main way in which you intervene to build God's kingdom. And the Global Learning Network with information, inspiration, and insights for integrated life and holistic society. And the spirit-filled force you believe is behind all these initiatives in the Montfort Brothers of St. Gabriel. Engaging the individuals and society for a better future as children of God has been and shall be the goal of this fellowship without borders. It is an inclusive education process. And the SERI network talks across the world from information to knowledge to intelligence and wisdom. These are great ideals. I'm going to take you through a rapid fire round right now. And I'm going to ask you, I'm going to make a few statements and write down the answer that comes to your mind first. If you don't, just remember it. Men are more liberated than women. You agree or not? Do you see yourself as a man? For the few ladies over here, as a woman? Or do you see yourself as primarily human? Dealing with gender inequality and women's liberation is most exclusively the responsibility of women. Do you believe that you are a feminist? And when I'm saying feminist, I mean someone who believes in equal rights of all, irrespective of ethnicity, gender, sexuality, race, ability. If you think you are a feminist, bring to your mind something that you have done to address any of these inequalities. As an individual, what have you done? As part of the institution you belong to, as part of an organization that you belong to, what have you done? Any one thing. Do you believe that men have more power and are able to exercise power more easily in social and religious spaces? The role of men is to protect women and to provide opportunities for their representation. The emotional nature of women is a disadvantage for them in making decisions. Women today make an issue of everything. They see abuse and violation in everything. They have lost their sense of and of proportion. The problem is social conditioning. Nothing can be done to bring about a real change as far as gender inequality. Women are equally responsible as men for the inequality they face. Women perpetuate the culture of patriarchy as they are the prime transmitters of culture. Women's empowerment is the reason for the increase in domestic violence. Women are as responsible as men for the abuse and violence they face. They flout the culturally acceptable norms of dress, public movement, and behavior expected of them. You, each one of you, brothers out there, accept and enjoy the privileges of being a male and the double privilege of being a male who is religious. This iceberg out here. The visible culture is what you would give if you've been giving certain answers. They are what you would like to maybe project, or it is, what you must remember is it's based on what is below the surface, what is the unseen culture, your background, your upbringing, your exposure to situations of inequality, the amount of time you've spent listening. And based on that, what are the values and beliefs you have about gender inequality? What is the worldview that you subscribe? Because that is the core of you as you have grown up. All of us are so in gender roles, patterns, etc. And this begins from the time we are born, where we are taught, we see it built in our families, we see it reinforced in the education system, by media, by language, by the legal systems, our institutions, our culture, and as a result, we learn patterns of behavior. Earlier, when I went to church and I heard some saying, sons of God, for my brothers, I would respond because excluded. Today, it affects me even if I hear brothers and sisters. Because when someone refers to us as brothers and sisters, I know that there are so many more others who are excluded. And even if it was just one in the congregation or in the audience, that person is excluded. And this socialization, which we have learned, is what leads to the attitudes and beliefs and values that we have and the kind of binary that we, and this could be anything from men versus women, or it could be women among themselves, the stronger versus the weaker, the mother-in-law versus the daughter-in-law. Among men, it could be the ones in power versus the ones who don't have the power. It could be across any spectrum. Now, the consequences of socialization is we learn the rubrics of the us-them equation. It makes people establish an identity, who they are. So if you're a transgender or you're a woman or whatever gender, or you're a man, so the social exposure that you have either gives you a positive identity, a positive self-concept, or a diffident concept, You're different to promote who you are. You prefer being in the background. Socialization tells us what kind of behavior is acceptable socially and form. It tells us about the roles, the expectations, the values, the way we must communicate, and the attitudes we must have. Now, sometimes we forget that this is unconscious in building who we are. You as Montfort brothers are part of the circles of learning, of socializing. Through your institutions, through the work that you do, and through the witness of your life. And you do this in engaging, as you say on your website, individuals and society for a better future. Count the number of institutions and the amount of work you have put in, the number of people whose lives. Do the people leave your institutions, or the ones who come in touch with you, see themselves more clearly as children of God? Now, I'm going back to something which is a word which was lost and now is coming back in fashion, so spoken patriarchy. Though it originally meant role of the father, it is now about men and women. Today, role is power. Our individual situation through your education institution, through your missionary work, your NGOs, you have control over the culture you are shaping. Patriarchy is a system, it's an institutionalized political, just invisible, but all encompassing. It's an ideology. And because it's an ideology, a set of values and beliefs, the prominent social group, they're believed to be unquestionable. Religion says it's unquestionable. The church in particular. Just last Sunday, I had a bishop saying men and women are ontological and therefore we must not question them. Patriarchy presents itself therefore as something which is natural, of power and order. It's not a male-female thing, it's a mindset. And all of us have been trained into accepting it and maybe subconsciously even supporting it. We are all complicit in upholding the system, and the system of patriarchy, privilege. Privilege is having an unbenefit or advantage just because of your identity as male, as religious male. Patriarchy depends on binary and therefore gender roles. Because someone has to be inferior, someone has to be superior. Someone has to be in control, someone has to maintain the power and order. And we all lose when people are treated unfairly and not on the merit of the person. And you, dear brothers, as privileged gender, you need to confront your own privileges and recognize that the inequality helps no one. Each one of us is able to undermine the system of oppression if we refuse to live with unchecked or unacknowledged privilege. And it will come in small ways. You visit a religious congregation, a mission or a reflection session, and then you will be treated with subservience. You will be given certain privileges and the kind of things that the way they attend to you. Are you going to accept it unchecked? Or are you going to pretend it doesn't happen? Or are you oblivious to it happening? Now, if you believe in your mind that you are not patriarchal, that's not enough. Adrienne Maree Brown reminds us, release any belief that your mind will liberate you from patriarchy. The change required now is not something you can learn or do with your mind alone. It is something you must practice with your body, emotions, soul. Only consistent practice will rewire your mind and liberate your life. And I think Brother John Kallarakkal said something like this, spoke about it like a call to assimilate the changes you want to see, assimilate them into your own life. Practice them. Be conscious of what you are not doing and what you are doing to perpetuate patriarchy. Patriarchy lives within us. The system, the question. All of us have an inner patriarch. Whether we are men or whether we are women. As a mother, I do this with my daughter, and she can keep our girls and women safe. And so we want them in well-defined of space. Inner patriarchy tells us that we must value men's decisions, which are rational and logical. It questions women's intelligence and abilities because women are emotional. They are long-winded. They'll go around stories before they come to the point. And they get frazzled by their many involvements. Even coming to address all you brothers was causing me internal turbulence. My subject came in. The inner patriarch wants to protect existing social norms, heterosexuality, of marriage, of demeanor, gender-based violence that we are seeing. And remember, our statistics, what we spoke about, how transgenders and other genders also violence record of it. It is not acknowledged because they are not. This violence is a manifestation of historically unequal power, our relations, and the relative ineffectiveness of the systems to combat it. Whether it is the legal system, the police, whatever. And all that is because of the outcome of behavior learned in society are built around domination and power. And how do we see this patriarchal mindset manifesting itself? It blames the victim. It expects the woman to adjust and then wonders why they go through abuse for a long time without complaining. It doesn't molestation harassment seriously. It's difficult to understand the different forms of gender-based violence as equally offensive. Great will we make a noise, but emotional, financial, verbal, all is abuse, which is affecting the identity in so-called other gender. You cannot be blind to the system, this invisible system of privilege of which 140 between men and women. Yet the countries, as we've heard our friend from Africa saying, laws and policy stereotypes, social norms and practices always discriminate against them. It's very easy to confuse what is with what ought to be, especially when what is has worked out in your favor. So therefore, to be precise, the word religious connotation, I put that for 3 Ds, IUEM, the women and other genders in the world feel disrespected, discriminated, devalued, infantilized, unseen, excluded, and marginalized. And where does all this freedom happen? First, in access to rights. We're the bottom of the rung. And if women are the bottom of the poverty runners, how much lower they are. We don't have access to our own identities, to opportunities, to safety. Socially, healthcare, the women and other genders get the dregs of the healthcare system. Education, skill development, nourishment, early and forced marriage, relationship, family safety are all areas of discrimination and being excluded. Economic, because of COVID times, access to resources for the resources that are available are limited, and women and other genders get what's left over. Women are the ones who have lost employment to a large extent. They have unpaid care burdens. The employment that they have is underpaid or unpaid. The work environments are not safe. Politically, women experience a freedom where decision-making is concerned, where there are opportunities for leadership. And if you answer that men need to make the spaces for us for leadership, then you need to question, because that is a patriarchal mindset. You don't have to create anything for us. You don't have to allow us. You don't have to permit us. You have to just make sure we get what is our right. Another part of the freedom that women experience in the world is they are vulnerable to abuse and violence. No right over their own body, over their choices. The responsibility for shame and honor of the family or community is put on them. There is the internalized patriarchy, and they are forced into compromises. Now, the freedom is also experienced in the church. Sexism and misogyny are woven into dogma and traditions. Men are believed to be higher spiritual authority to others. We do not allow, the church does not allow ordination of women into the clergy. And yet important offices of jurisdiction, teaching, decision-making, administrative bodies are linked to priesthood. The use of religious texts to justify this inequality as divinely dictated and ordained. Limited jobs are available. Even if someone is called as a resource person, the men receive a higher honorarium than women. Male hegemony is legitimized, perpetuated without any self-criticism in the church. And sexual exploitation within the church, under submission and misuse of authority, and the wrong understanding of obedience. And unfortunately, there are no support mechanisms without the church or outside the church. So where do women go for help? As I said, our leadership roles, if there are some, they are restricted. We have in India a priest who is the secretary of the Commission for the Laity. And if you have a woman, supervision of, so what happens is the women's voices are unheard. The perspective and the vote is missed out. And unfortunately, women are either erased from the lectionaries of their role in salvation history has been excluded, or scripture is given a patriarchal interpretation. And yet Jesus was all about inclusivity. He had male and female disciples. He had male and female imagery. He gave the keys to Peter, but he sent Mary Magdalene to announce his resurrection. We need to ask ourselves, what is really sacred? Respecting the traditions of the bygone era or basic principles of social justice? And let us not let patriarchy say that it is needed to maintain structure and order, because that is the slippery slope to enabling a culture of violence. violence. How can we promote this integrated life and holistic society you talk about as Montfortins, and engaging individuals in society for a better future as children of God? How can we work to make sure that we are understanding and undermining the system of oppression and privilege that hurts us all? And to create change, therefore, we need to reflect. What can your institutions do? Your educational institutions. What is it doing that is promoting this system? We reflect on that and consciously choose to act and challenge the privileges you have individually and the attitude you are creating, privileged. Can see our representatives of all genders in leadership and for extend this conversation to your friends, community members, people you work with. Our efforts have to be continued, conscious, multidimensional. We are as persons, if change in men's consciousness, to change the cultural norms and exclusionary very quickly. For your institutions, do your vision, goals, principles have an explicit commitment to promoting or achieving gender equality? Does your target population purposely include all genders? Have all genders participated in the following stages, whether it is design, implementation, monitoring and evaluation of your programs? Have steps been taken to ensure equal participation of representative genders? Do all genders as team members have an equal role in decision making? Does your policy or program consider life conditions and opportunities for all genders? Does the policy or program include women's practical and strategic needs? Something as simple as using the washrooms in male houses. Women need a dustbin and it's never there. Does the language you use exclude or privilege one sex? Do your materials and publications portray men and women based on gender-based stereotypes? Does your program address gender inequality in skill development to help other genders integrate into the economy? If you want to be an ally, then work alongside those who are marginalized and be their voice, not your voice, as Mike was saying. Listen to what their situation is. As an ally, your voice should not be the loudest. Let's get active. Action is called for. You should read, study, unlearn what you know, and relearn about gender relations. And let the Holy Spirit be your guide. Being an ally means taking on the struggle as your own. So educate, facilitate critical questioning, don't reinforce gender role stereotypes, study scripture, doctrine, inclusive language, etc. from the gender perspective, enable all to understand their call to equality of discipleship, and empower them to enjoy fullness of life. You're called to be prophetic in your community, religious congregation, workplace, etc. What can you do to bring about this change? At the personal level, at your circle of influence. Examine your personal attitudes, etc. Question the realities and acquire new patterns of behavior. Remember, keeping silent is not spiritual, because it is the truth that sets us all free. Because when evil is brought into the light, the rampant cancer of it withers. And because our God is the true God, and his people are called to speak true words. Thank you.
Thank you, Reina, for that very insightful, very erudite presentation. Challenging, basically challenging us to, as one of your slides, final slide said, unlearn so that we can relearn. And I think this is a privilege precisely the brothers by your vocation have. We are people who are given to being brothers as our fundamental calling and fundamental vocation. And this very vocation that we have received impels us to be free, to be footloose, to embrace inclusiveness, not only in terms of how and what we do with, deal with, work with the most vulnerable people, but women who face immense discrimination because of their gender. Thank you, Reina, for that very insightful presentation. We shall be sharing the PowerPoint that you presented with the participants. Hopefully, it will be available. Thank you,
Sure.
Reina.